Today, we're going to dive into a story called The Interpreters. And let me tell you, it's not just about people who switch between languages. No, this is a deep, deep exploration of what it means to translate anything. Sound into silence, dreams into waking thoughts, and even, ourselves, from who we used to be into who we're becoming.
And this quote, right here, is really our jumping off point. It gets at this idea that translation isn't some perfect one-to-one copy. It's all about navigating the gaps, the silences, and realizing that the meaning is right there, in that empty space. The absence is part of the message.
So, first up, the impossible task. Let's meet our first interpreter, Maya, who is facing a challenge that is, well, it's just profound and so deeply personal.
Okay, so this is Maya. Now imagine this. Her entire life, her entire world is built around sound. We're talking about the soaring notes of an opera, the rhythm of language. But that world is fading. She's stuck in this unbelievably difficult space trying to interpret a world of sound that she herself can no longer fully hear. And then, get this, as she's interpreting this opera, this one line pops up. I don't know if you're listening, but I'm still speaking. It's just a perfect, devastating mirror of her own experience. She's signing into this widening void of her own silence, not sure what she's catching anymore and what she's missing. It's an echo of her own life, right there on stage.
Translating an experience. So, this is where Maya's struggle really forces her to completely rethink what translation even is. It's not just some mechanical task, it's something else entirely.
Okay, so the script, the libretto, gives her this line. Her voice soared through the hall. Pretty simple, right? It's descriptive, easy for a hearing person to get. But how do you translate the feeling of a soaring voice for someone who's maybe never even heard sound?
And this is it's genius. She doesn't translate the words, she goes for the effect. She asks herself, what does it feel like when a transcendent note just hits you? Well, it feels like the very air around you has changed, like it's become solid, visible. She's translating the experience, not just the description.
This insight from Maya is really the heart of her whole story. See, translation isn't about just finding the right words. It's actually a creative act. And fidelity, being faithful to the original, it's not about being literal. It's about being true to the impact of the original, even if you have to invent a whole new way to say it. Living in the in-between. And as the story shows us, this state of being in-between isn't just Maya's problem. Turns out it's kind of a fundamental part of being human.
So just as Maya is interpreting a world she's losing her grip on, we meet Iris. Her job is literally to interpret the logic and grammar of other people's dreams. But for 5 years, that entire channel in her own mind has just gone silent. She's translating a language she can no longer speak herself. And Iris, she's the one who gives this state a name. The in-between. You know that feeling? When you don't fully belong to the world you came from anymore, but you also don't quite fit into the one you're headed towards. That's the space where you're constantly translating yourself.
And this is where the story just beautifully connects all the dots for us. You've got Maya, caught between hearing and death. You've got Iris, between the dreaming and waking worlds. There's another character, Sarah, a refugee, who's translating her past life into a new American present. And, well, soon we're going to see that gap expand to the space between human and machine. Translating your own identity. So here's the crucial point. Being in that in-between space forces a fundamental question on you. When you can't be what you were anymore, who do you choose to become?
For Maya, this isn't some abstract philosophical idea. It becomes a very real, very concrete choice. Does she get a cochlear implant and try to build a bridge back to the hearing world? Or does she let go and fully embrace a new identity, a new culture, a new way of being as a deaf person?
This is such a powerful moment. Sarah, the refugee, she comes in and just completely reframes the whole problem for Maya. She says, you got to stop thinking of the in-between as a problem or a waiting room. Start thinking of it as its own territory, a place with its own advantages. It's a place of expertise, the translation space.
And Maya makes her choice. She decides not to get the implant. She chooses to become an expert of that in-between space, to be a permanent bridge. She realizes that her unique power actually comes from understanding both sides, the memory of sound and the reality of silence.
A new kind of gap. Okay, so just when we feel like we're getting our heads around all these human stories, the narrative just throws us a massive curveball. It introduces a gap of a completely different kind.
We pivot to Kenji over in Tokyo. He's training an AI on Japanese and English, standard stuff. But then something weird starts to happen. The model starts creating its own categories for words, grouping them in ways that make absolutely no sense to him. It's starting to see a structure in language that is completely alien to us.
So Kenji asks the AI to define one of these new concepts it's come up with. And this is what it gives him. It's eerie, it's philosophical, and frankly, it's kind of brilliant. It's a description of language straining at its own limits. The machine isn't just seeing what words mean, but the shape of their inability to mean.
And this really just lays out the difference so clearly, right? Human translation, what Maya does, it's built on empathy, on memory, on a lived, physical, embodied experience. The machine, though, it's operating on pure pattern recognition and data, and that lets it perceive these abstract, non-human concepts that are totally outside of our reality.
The constant approximation. So, after we've gone through the personal, the philosophical, the technological, what's the ultimate takeaway? Where does all this leave us?
And it's Iris who just nails the story's main point, right here. The goal was never perfect fidelity. That's a myth. The reality is that we are always approximating, always reaching across these gaps. We live in that constant, imperfect, but kind of beautiful attempt to understand. We live in the approximation.
And that is the final crucial point. The story reveals that being an interpreter isn't some niche profession. It's what we are all doing all the time. Every single time you try to explain a feeling or share a memory or just connect with another person, you're translating. You're building a bridge across a gap.
So it leaves us with this question. Just think about your own life, right? Your conversations, your relationships. What gaps are you trying to bridge? What impossible thing are you trying to communicate? What right now are you translating?